Hey everybody, this is Eric with Chaotic Goods. Today we are taking a look at my personal favorite deck in WiXoss, and that is using the tribal or the class, whatever you would prefer to call it, of jewels. Now, jewels are something that I've been playing for a year now, maybe a little bit more, just because they're beautiful, they synergize really well together, and now with the restrictions released for colors, we can spice things up a little bit in the Elric deck that we weren't able to before because we were restricted to blue and red SIGNI because, for whatever reason, those are the only jewel colors that we have available, even though it would make sense to have, obsidian being black and, ruby being red, which is kind of already there, or emerald being green. We don't really have those options, so we're limited to blue and red, which is unfortunate, but the SIGNI that we have are really good, very strong, and they synergize very well together. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the Elric deck and the SIGNI deck, and I'm going to kind of just break down what I like about it, some of the combos, and what the SIGNI do, and hopefully just showcase the deck for you guys. So we're going to start on our Elric deck. As always, we have a 12-card deck, and first we're going to start with Umr. So because we are red and blue, we're limited to the red and blue center Elric, and some of the blue are pretty good, and some of the red are pretty good. It kind of just depends on how you want to play the jewels, but again, because there's not so many jewel SIGNI to choose from, we're limited on what we want our center to do. Now, Umr, we have her level 1, her 0, her level 1, her level 2, and then we have the Umr Tre Key to Uproar. Now, her effect is, at the beginning of your attack phase, you may swap the positions of 2 target SIGNI on your field. This is really good because a lot of the SIGNI that we get in our jewel deck can get very strong and become huge walls. Or, alternatively, we can swap things if we want one of our opponent's walls to be moved. Now, her enter effect is look at your opponent's hand and choose a card, put that card at the bottom of its owner's deck. An insane effect because we could basically say, oh, you have a guard? Not anymore. It goes to the bottom. And we're not playing any sort of mill or anything, so this allows us to take that card, put it at the bottom, and say, hey, it's going to be a while till you can see it. And then her once per game is put one Hostilic? I have no idea how to pronounce that, which is quite unfortunate. I'm assuming it's Hostilic on your opponent's SIGNI zones. Now what that does is similar to viruses if you've played Nanashi, but you only get one, and that is auto. At the beginning of your attack phase, vanish SIGNI in the SIGNI zone unless your opponent discards or pays 1. So this is a really good effect to where it's basically saying, hey, discard a card or pay 1. So it's that little bit of control that we force upon our opponent in order to ensure that, at the beginning of their attack phase, they either vanish the SIGNI or they have to get rid of an inner that they may not necessarily want to, because some decks run a pretty tight inner, and nobody wants to discard a card, because that just feels bad. Alright, now, next, the assists are pretty crazy, because we can do a lot of things with the assist Elrics, but I didn't want to do anything boring. I've wanted to keep it spicy, and I've had Carnival in the assist line for basically since she released, and I really like her. So we have Carnival 0, then we go into Carnival Attack, which is banish target level 2 or less SIGNI on your opponent's field. Lane clear, it's exactly what we want it to do. Alternatively, you could run the other level 1, which allows you to get 2 cards, but we don't need that. We're fine on card draw, so vanishing and opening up a lane is really strong for us. And then we play Sin, which is, in my opinion, the best red assist that you can probably run right now, because she does what most other assists don't. So her grow cost is 2, so she's relatively cheap, and then the first enter effect is target SIGNI gains Assassin, Lancer, or constant this SIGNI cannot attack until end of turn. And then the other enter effect is an additional 2 colorless for the same effect. So essentially, you can save this to be very aggressive and finish off your opponent with, you know, an assassin or a lancer, double assassin, double lancer, however you want to do it, to get some damage in. Or if you're, you know, your opponent ran over you, you didn't get any life bursts, and you need to play it safe, you can just say, hey, 2 of your SIGNI can't attack for 4. It's really good. It's not the best, you know, full damage stop in the game, but for red, I think Carnival Sin is easily the best one we can go with. Alright, and then because color restrictions and, you know, we're only running red and blue, I didn't want to do double red or double blue because I don't really like those pieces. So we have Yuka Yuka. Now this is pretty common. She's used in a lot of Esper decks because she's just extremely good. Now her level 1 is look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 cards without a guard from among them, add it to your hand, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. It's honestly just really good search, really good filter for your deck. Look at 3, bottom 1. Hopefully you don't hit like all guards because that would be extremely unfortunate. But this allows us to, you know, get some pieces into our hand to eventually play in the upcoming turns. And then we play, to no one's surprise, Dojon. So it's a 0 cost, grow, and the enter effect is target SIGNI on your opponent's field gains the SIGNI cannot attack until end of turn. And then the other enter effect is at the end of this turn, return this card to the Elric deck unless your opponent pays 1 or discards a card. So this is really good because it's the same as our Umer once per game. We're basically saying, hey, if you don't want me to keep doing this and stopping one of your Elrics or one of your SIGNI from hitting me, you're going to have to pay a card or discard a card, and then this is going to stay on the field. So really good stop for your opponent to just, you know, be super annoying. Because your opponent, again, they don't want to discard a card. They don't want to pay an enter, but they also don't want you to keep playing this card. So you're making them choose, and sometimes they're just going to have to bite the bullet. So it's really strong. And the pieces I've found are very interchangeable in this deck. But this is one of my personal favorites because we are running a full class deck of just jewels outside our 4 servants. So we're running Countdown Heals. Now it is simply just a 1 cost that is declare a class, so jewels of course, and then add up to 1 target level 1 SIGNI, 1 target level 2 SIGNI, and 1 target level 3 SIGNI of the declared class without a guard from your trash, and add it to your hand. So, you know, if our opponent has gotten rid of a few things or we need to recoup our hand for whatever reason, we can just pay 1, say jewel, get a 1, 2, and 3 back, and we suddenly have 3 cards in hand and hopefully some really good pieces for us to just run down our opponent. There's a lot of cards that you want to get with this. The level 1 is very situational, but the level 2s and 3s, you're almost getting Ray, and you're almost always going to get, I can't remember her name, but I'll show you when we get there. And this is fun because we couldn't run this. I mean, we could run this, but it was terrible. But so now we're running it because it's actually really good. So Colorful Ensemble. It is a 2 cost, and so you have to have 3 Elric on your field with 3 or more different colors. Standard Dream Team. And then if there is a white Elric on your field, return target SIGNI on your opponent's field to its hand. There's a red Elric on your field, target level 3 or more SIGNI on your field gains Assassin. So again, we're getting Assassin off of this. We can get it from Carnival, and there's a jewel that allows us to get 2 Assassins. So it's great. And then if there's a blue Elric on your field, freeze target Elric on your opponent's field. So we are freezing. We are freezing the opponent's Elric. We are bouncing a SIGNI back, and we're getting Assassin. The ability to not have to have green to use this anymore, and a lot of these other Dream Team pieces with the color restrictions gone, make this very, very good. These Dream Team pieces are crazy strong now. Alright, so with our Elric deck out of the way, we are going to jump into our main deck. So similar to how I did before, we're going to do level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s, and then I'm just going to kind of break everything down as we go to let you guys know, you know, this combos really well with this, and you can kind of hopefully get the idea of how the deck is supposed to work. Now again, disclaimer, this is not an S tier deck by any means. This is my favorite for fun deck that I will bring out and I will just play and have a good time with, because I don't want to try hard, I don't want to be a meta slave. I just really like jewels, and I think they're a lot of fun, they're very beautiful, and it's really fun to just play the game without tryharding and enjoy the cards that you are playing. Alright, so with the level 1s, we will first, let's just go ahead and put this here. We will take a look at our 4 servants. So, standard fashion, 4 servants. This is the Congratulations Bride servant. Absolutely beautiful. Had to kind of go with the theme of jewels, of just being beautiful cards, and this servant fits that. So we have 4 of her. Alright. Next up is Rubelite. Now, she's a 2000 power, so she is kind of weak. She's not going to be vanishing a lot of SIGNI on your opponent's field. However, her effect is when the SIGNI becomes a target of an ability or effect of your opponent's SIGNI, vanish that SIGNI. So you put her on the field and your opponent's basically making the choice. Do I vanish this with the ability to get vanished myself, or do I have to target something else? And you'll kind of notice that trend with jewels, because a lot of them have similar effects that do that. So we run 4 Rubelite. And then we have 4 Hessonite natural crystals. She's another 2000. So again, we're not getting rid of the bodies on our opponent's field, which is good because we don't want to give them inner, and her effect is also extremely good. So during your opponent's turn, when the SIGNI becomes a target of an ability effect of your opponent, so your opponent doing something, your opponent chooses a card from their inner zone and puts it into their trash. It's great. So if you have this and Rubelite on the field, it's literally, do I want the SIGNI to get vanished, or do I want to lose an inner? So we run 4 of her. Now we run Riryu, Lonely Natural Crystal. We run 4 of her, and she's a 7000 with a life burst, that is, vanish target SIGNI on your opponent's field with 8000 or less, standard red life burst. But her enter effect, if there are no other jewel SIGNI on your field, discard a card. Good thing for us, we have 36 other jewels that we have, so we can play this without having to worry about discarding a card. And she's a 7000 power level 1, crazy strong. So we run 4 of her because we'd be silly not to. And then we have 2 Kyanite natural crystals, another 2000 power SIGNI, and at the end of your turn, if the SIGNI is upped, reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is blue, draw a card. I have thought about removing these for other level 1s, but I kind of like this effect because sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing to leave her up to hit a level 1. In our deck, I'm pretty sure we're running like it's like an 18 to 18 ratio on blue and red, so there's a good chance that we will hit a blue if we decide not to swing with Kyanite. Alright, now we'll go to the level 2s. Level 2s, we run a small amount of, but they are very strong. First off, we run Iolite Natural Crystal. She's beautiful. No effect outside of the life burst. So she is your standard, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 3 cards from among them in your hand, put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So she's really good if we're going against any sort of discard deck. We pray that she is in our life cloth, that we can hit her, but the effect, it's okay. I've thought about taking her out for others as well, but the 10,000 power really gets people sometimes, where you drop level 2 on the board, she has 10,000 power, and suddenly your opponent has to, use an L-word to get rid of it, or use an effect from one of their SIGNI on it because they want to get rid of this. They don't want to leave this body on the field. So we run 2 of her. Alright, and then we run Garnet Natural Dancing Stone. So she's another life burst, a standard red life burst, where you may discard a card. If you do, vanish target SIGNI on your opponent's field with 12k or less. Now, she has a constant that as long as the SIGNI is down, the SIGNI gets plus 4,000 power. So she's an 8,000 naturally. You down her, which, you swing with her, and suddenly she's a 12k. Great wall, great body at a level 2. Now, her action to down her is put target SIGNI from your opponent's inner zone into their trash. If you do, your opponent may undercharge 1. Kind of terrible, but we don't care. All we care about is that she's an 8k that goes into a 12k, and her life burst is very good. So we run 2 Garnets. Alright, and now we have Appetite, Natural Crystal. Personally, one of my favorites because she's holding a giant toothbrush, which is amazing. So she's an 8k, and then in similar fashion to a lot of the others that you've seen, when this SIGNI becomes the target of an ability effect of your opponent, draw a card. So you put her down, you have a Rubelite on the field, you have a Hessonite on the field. Your opponent is giving you resources or losing resources. It's very good. So we run 2 of her. Now I'm going to say arguably the best jewel card next to one of the level 3s is going to be Ray Memoria Natural Crystal. Now she's an 8,000 and her constant is other red SIGNI and jewel SIGNI on your field get plus 2,000 power. So suddenly our Iolite is a 12k. Our Garnet is a 14k. Our Riryu is a 9k because Ray exists. Now, her auto, once per turn, when a jewel SIGNI on your field becomes the target of an enter ability or enter effect of your opponent's SIGNI, your opponent discards a card. And your opponent will soon realize that there are a lot of effects that are going to trigger Ray. So we run 4 of her. The only thing I would prefer over this are the Congratulations Rays. If you're watching this video and you have Congratulation Ray Memoria Natural Crystals for sale, please hit me up. I want 4 of them. Alright, now the last little bit here is our level 3s. Now people, you can hate me for these level 3s. There's not a lot of good jewel level 3s outside of what I'm running. There are a handful that can be, interchanged, but I think this line I've had a lot of success with, and it's a lot of fun using them. So, Alexandrite. Alexandrite's really cool. So, first off, she's a 10k, 12k if you have Ray on the field. Her life burst is choose one, banish target up SIGNI on your opponent's field, or draw a card. Really good life burst. And then auto. Whenever another SIGNI on your field gains Assassin, Lancer, or Double Crush, you may pay red colorless. If you do, this SIGNI gains that ability until end of turn. Wow, really cool. We have a level 2 assist that gives 2 of our SIGNI Assassin, which means that we can have this get Assassin as well. And then we have a piece that also gives a level 3 SIGNI Assassin, which means we can give this Assassin. So suddenly we have multiple Assassins on the board because Alexandrite exists in our deck. It's really good. I've done it plenty of times, and the oh shit face from your opponent when you suddenly have 3 Assassins on the board and they can only stop 2 is a really good feeling. We run 2 of her. I would like to run more, but I just don't know if you want more than 2, because you're only ever going to trigger this effect with your piece or with your assist, and so 2 is a really good point to stop at for Alexandrite. Now, potentially one of everybody's favorite jewels is Diabride, Natural Engagement Crystal. She's probably one of my favorite arts in the game. She's just downright gorgeous. Now, she's a 12k with a life burst that's choose one, banish target up SIGNI on your opponent's field, or draw a card, just like Alexandrite. So really good. Now, her auto is when a red SIGNI on your field becomes the target of your opponent's ability or effect, your opponent chooses a card from their inner zone and puts it in their trash. Again, we run about 18 blue, 18 red, so there's a good chance this effect will trigger. Now, her enter effect is discard a card, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add a card from among them to your hand, put the rest in your trash. This is really good for one of our upcoming level 3s and just kind of getting rid of what you don't want and ensuring you get what you need. We run 2 of her. Alright, now, probably the one that most people don't like, and that's Blue Adamus Natural Proxine. Absolutely gorgeous card. She's just amazing. She's a 10k, and she has, at the beginning of your attack phase, reveal the top card of your deck and draw a card. Then, if a Jewel SIGNI is revealed with this effect, you may pay blue-red, colorless. If you do, banish target SIGNI on your opponent's field. So she gets really annoying because you reveal a card. If it's a Jewel, you pay 3 to just banish anything. So if your opponent has really big walls on the field, you pop it, and hey, a lane is cleared. It's awesome. Plus, you are always drawing a card unless it's a servant. And hey, if it's a servant, you know what's coming up next when you draw into your turn. So really, really strong. And I think the reason people don't run her is because the 3 costs of her effect. If you notice, there's not a lot of reason to pay for effects in our deck. So we can have a huge pool of enter and just pop this a few times and just make sure that we are clearing lanes to just hit our opponent, and it just is super annoying for them. So I run 4 of her. I wouldn't change it. I think she is probably like the 3rd best Jewel that they've come out with. So absolutely a 4 of. If you wanted to, you can maybe do 3. Up to you. Now, our last level 3, and easily the best Jewel in the game, by far, my favorite is Indigo Light. And this is what I was saying with your countdown heals. Excuse me. This is what I was saying with countdown heals. You were going to want to grab Indigo Light. If if she was in your life cloth and suddenly she's in the trash because you paid for her as a cost of growing, get Indigo Light. We run 4 of. You absolutely need her on the field. Now, she has a lot going on here, but we'll start with her Life Burst. Draw 2 cards, put up to 1 Jewel SIGNI from your hand onto the field. Really good. Really good. Being able to draw 2 and then put something on the field is awesome, especially if your opponent cleared a lane, cleared a couple lanes, and they hit this, and now they suddenly have to deal with a Jewel. Now, her constant, as long as there are 5 or more Jewel SIGNI in your trash, she gets plus 3,000. Cool. She's a 15k. If you have a Ray on the field, she's a 17k. That's really dumb. She's very, very strong. Now, auto, once per turn, when a Jewel SIGNI on your field is vanished, your opponent discards a card. Great. They're discarding a card whenever they vanish a Jewel SIGNI. That's just really good for us. And then, you also have the Ray effect that also makes them discard a card. Now, her action once per turn is you discard a card, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add a card from among your hand, put the rest in your trash. So she literally filters herself. So let's say you're at 4. You can just discard a card. That puts you at 5. You look at the top 2. You discard 1, you keep 1. Now you're at 6, and suddenly she gets plus 3,000 power. So she's just so good at everything she needs. She's absolutely gorgeous. And quite honestly, just the best Jewel in the game. She really solidified the Jewel deck when she came out in P09 to where I just couldn't not play this deck. I took it to Las Vegas GP last year. I will not be taking it to the Las Vegas GP this year because I actually want to place well, just due to, first or second getting a ticket to Japan. That'd be pretty cool. So I'm not going to take Jewels, but like I said, this is my for fun. I'm going to pull this out. I'm just going to have a blast, play a couple matches with some friends, at my LGS online. So this is my Jewels deck. I've tailored it a lot. It will probably go through several iterations in the future just because I like changing up the L-rigs, the pieces. But the main body of the deck will pretty much always be this. I may take a few things out like Isle Light, maybe the Kyanites. I might change things here and there, but ultimately, this is the list. Give it a shot. If you have all these cards, please, by all means, give this deck a shot. Have some fun with it. It's really, really awesome to just have Indigo Light on the field, a Ray on the field, and Blue Adamus or Alexandrite, and you just have these huge walls that your opponent has to get through. But by getting through them, they suddenly have to discard a card. They have to discard 2 cards potentially. And, your Blue Adamus is just clearing things left and right with her effects. It's a lot of fun. So if you give it a shot, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'd be happy to hear what you think of the deck. Anyway, Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening.